train station, we knew that Kilo was going to be taken over for, was it Fox Troop, I think?
I believe so.
Yeah. They had, their area of responsibility was roughly the same as the one we were taking over, which was Carabla and Sada, which were sprawling settlements east of the border town of Usaba.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in and started a turnover with that cavalry troop.
Mm-hmm.
And, they ran us through some basic things like just basic patrolling through the zone, doing vehicle searches, how to cordon off a road, conduct vehicle searches, hasty house searches, whatever. And in the process of that turnover, I had to give up 2 platoons, and I knew that was coming, but I had 4 rifle platoons, right, that I'd just organized for this fight, and then I was told that I was giving up 2 of them to the battalion main effort, which is Lima Company in Usaba. So that was a battalion main effort, so I gave him my best platoon commander, Dave Fleming, Kilo 1. And then to make it equal, I just said, all right, Kilo 1's going, then I'll send Kilo 4 to go with him, which gave me Kilo 2 and Kilo 3.
Mm-hmm.
And during that turnover...
how long were they going to be, take on to this other company?
Lieutenant Colonel Lopez promised that I could have Kilo 4 back after a month. But Rick Gannon in Lima Company, he needed as much ass as possible that first month just to get their feet wet and get established.
And this was because they were going to be rolling in and trying to... This is in Usaba?
In Usaba. And so Usaba was the center of gravity for the battalion AO, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the border crossing point with Syria. So they were determined to be the battalion main effort. And so he just loaded them with as much manpower as possible in order to make the transition as seamless as possible when we took over the AO from the Army. Because, anytime there's a unit turnover in country, the Moosh fucking know,
yep.
Right? And you're going to get tested.
Yep.
And so the colonel knew that going into it. So he wanted to make sure that Lima had as much ass as possible so they could go in as heavy as possible to establish a strong presence and get things going without getting bloodied too bad. Mm-hmm. And so for the first month, in Usaba, they ran platoon-sized patrols. They didn't run squad patrols. The lightest unit that ever stepped into zone was a fucking platoon. Meanwhile, in my zone, I had fucking 6 squads to hold down the whole AO with. And so we were rolling in squad-sized patrols from the outset.
So what were some of these patrols, Ferg, that you guys were going in? What were you guys doing?
A lot of it was just getting familiar with the area, and then because we did have platoons, we would do the satellite patrollings where even though we were all going the same direction, we maybe have one squad on this street, the other squad on this street, still keeping visual eye to eye and having phase lines and checking in. And other than that, it was just getting to know the AO. And I remember that it was quiet for a while because we just relieved an Army mechanized unit, and now you got Marines, boots on the ground, so you could tell like insurgents were taken back a little bit, and nothing happened for a few days, and then all of a sudden it just started, and just the kinetics just kept flowing, and it was like cat and mouse games back and forth.
Now, we're talking early 04, so one thing that's interesting is there were IEDs, but they weren't as bad as they got. I mean, they weren't as bad as they got in 05, in 06, in 07. I mean, they just got worse and worse. So at this time, you're I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not saying there wasn't any IEDs, but would you consider rolling out into town? Your main threat was IEDs, or was it, friend or just small arms fire?
I would say it's a little bit of both, but you're absolutely right. Some of them were buried too deep, or backwards. I know on the Battle of the 17th, myself and Carbajal, there was one between us, and somebody kicked the blasting cap out. And all we heard was a little small pop, and like one of those pucker factors. But yeah, in the middle of a battalion attack to clear the town.
And so you guys are rolling in. How often? What's your op tempo like?
You want to take that one, Bill?
Our op tempo?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like, how often were you guys doing ops?
We were doing them.
It was about 2 a day, 6 hours each.
It was about a day and a night patrol.
Yeah, each patrol is about 6 hours because we'd go through the whole town and back.
Well, another thing that was crazy is you have a set mission, and then something would happen. You would have to secure a vehicle that got hit by an IED, or you'd get this new frago to go to this house that you heard could have been a torture chamber or had insurgents. So I remember going out there, and then a 4-hour patrol would turn into an 8-hour patrol. And I remember at the time I was just 28, but I remember my back was killing me because I had extra large SAPI plates, and you're walking all the time. And later on, we learned that from the warfighting lab came out when we were attached back to Kilo. They came and weighed us. And I remember I was about 225 at the time, but me and my first sergeant were one of the two only Marines that were over 300 pounds with full combat, frags, and all that stuff. And we would laugh about it because at the time, some of those anti-tank mines, you just need 300 pounds of pressure. So I'm like, damn. Me and first sergeant.
You passed that threshold.
If Sig stepped on it, he'd be good. He could jump up and down on that. But me and Templeton, we had to worry about it.
Hey, go ahead.
To your question about the evolution of the IED, it was fascinating to come in there and see that the ID threat that First the Third was dealing with, 82 mortar rounds, 152 artillery shells, all usually primed with det cord. This Soviet-style red det cord. Mm-hmm. And so when the Moos were first employees, they didn't know enough to bury the fucking det cord. So they'd be rolling into town and they'd see this string of red, right, coming out of the desert and terminating at the roadside. They're like, oh, gee, what do you know? Maybe we shouldn't drive over there. But, by the time we left, it had already evolved into command det via not cell phones, but cordless phones, kind of cordless phone you'd have in your house, right, VTech or whatever. But when we came in there, the Moos were used to dealing with an armored threat. And the thing that scared the soldiers the most from the cavalry was a 62-millimeter Chinese rocket. Right? This thing had showed up in zone several months earlier, and the Moos were affixing these things to walls. They would mortar in around this thing, so all you could see is a circle, right? And they'd set it up at about base of the turret height and wait for a vehicle to roll by. And they were poking holes in main battle tanks with these things. In one side and outside the other of a Bradley fighting vehicle. So the Army, they were scared shitless of these things. And I remember they had a display in the makeshift chow hall there in the battalion CP of different types of IEDs that they had encountered during their tour, which was really instructive for us because Marines got to get eyes on them, right? So one of those was a Chinese rocket. And we're like, holy fucking Jesus. We're rolling out in Humvees. Mm-hmm. And the day of the relief in place, when it was finally effective and First the Third was rolling out, I climbed up onto the Bradley from the Fox troop commander, who was my counterpart during the turnover, to shake his hand and thank him for the turnover. And he looks behind me at our row of Humvees, which were soft-skin Humvees. We had 4 up-armoreds that the First the Third's organic self-propelled battery had used. They turned in their self-propelled howitzers for Humvees once they went into the end of OF1, and thank God they gave us 4 of them, right? we spread them out amongst the battalion. So 4 came to Kilo. And the soft skin Humvees, my Marines were in the process of strapping used Army road wheels that they had scavenged from the fucking scrap heap and strapping those with cargo straps to the side of our Humvees so we had some armor. And he looks at that and he looks at me and he says, I don't know how you're going to fucking do it. I said, that's how we roll. You got no choice. Right? And within a few weeks, a Chinese rocket disappeared because it needed it.
Yeah.
That 152 82 mortar round, it'd do just fine. And they had their hands full of anti-tank mines. And they put those to good effect. They learned to plant them upside down so you could get a rear wheel strike on a Humvee instead of a front wheel strike. Because they know if you get a front wheel strike on a Humvee with a mine, it's going to kill the vehicle, right? But most likely, you got guys may get a broken foot or a broken leg. But if you get a rear wheel strike, you're going to kill at least 1 Marine and probably 2. So they figured that shit out. And on the last day of our turnover with Charlie Company 17, First Sergeant Templeton stepped on one of those damn things. Left his size 14 fucking boot print right in the middle of it. Thank God it was planted upside down. It had been there a while. But this Lance Corporal engineer comes up, yanks his helmet off, gets down there face first with this fucking anti-tank mine, breaks out his K-bar, starts unearthing it, and he says, I'll be damned. I said, what do you got? I said, don't tell me. It's upside down, right? He goes, this thing's fucking upside down. Lieutenant Justin Engelhardt, Cat Red, figured that out about 5 months into the deployment.
Well, did you guys prefer to be in vehicles or on foot?
Foot. Definitely on foot.
Well, we had a unique situation because we were attached to the main effort Lima Company for a while, so we were used to patrolling on foot, and then we had great dispersion and stuff. And then going back to the vehicles, it took a while because, we just wasn't comfortable. I mean,
in Ramadi, we didn't like being in vehicles.
Yeah.
I mean, because you just don't have any control. I was a damn vehicle commander, and I didn't feel like I had any control because you just can't see what's happening fast enough. You can't see an IED fast enough, whatever. And so I always felt, and we pretty much did everything we could to take the vehicles to where we needed to take them to, and then get out of those things and walk. Was that the same thing you guys were feeling?
Yeah,
we'd get dropped off. We'd get dropped off, and they'd go and. All right, they'd go back and support QRF or whatever, wait to go get us, or they'd go check out another spot over on the other side of town while we satellite to them.
Got it. What'd you like better, though, Bill? Did you like better sitting in a Humvee waiting to suck start an IED? That's what I always felt like.
Well, and the thing for us, we weren't rolling in a regular 4-door Humvee. We were in high backs. Mm-hmm. So in the back of the Humvee, there was 6 of us, 7, crammed in there, like tuna, and you can't drive slow because then you're an easy target. So you drive fast, and what can you identify going 45, 50 fast enough to stop to not hit it? And so I always preferred to be on the ground. I felt like I had more control.
Yeah.
So we came up with a method of employment that involved what I came to call a split section. So we'd have 2 gun trucks escorting 2 high backs, right? So you put an up armored up front because it had armor if you were going to hit an IED, and then two damn high backs and 1 rifle squad, which was organized into 2 fire teams because we didn't have large enough squads to have 3 fire teams, right? So you'd put a fire team in each Vic, and by the time we were in country long enough, we figured out you take your 3rd squad, and those guys are going to man the vehicle itself. They'll drive it, they'll vehicle command it, and they'll gun it. We got 240s eventually mounted on the tops of these things, and then that left you with 2 full dismounted rifle fire teams, one in each